Hi, seventh graders. Today we're going to talk about surface area of rectangular prisms and triangular prisms. So quick little reminder about a prism is going to be a three-dimensional shape that has two parallel and congruent bases, and then rectangular faces. So your bases could be any shape, but it's going to have those rectangular sides. So when we talk about surface area is going to be the sum of all of the areas of all of the faces of the three-dimensional object. So, for example, here's a rectangular prism, and we're actually going to use the net first to kind of help us, and then we'll progress to not using a net to get our surface area. So what I need to do is I need to figure out the area of each of these separate faces of this prism. And so right now the net is kind of drawn out, so that figure is unfolded for us. And so it's a little bit easier to think of the area of each of the faces. So when I look at this, if I think of this rectangle right over here, 7 times 8 is going to give me an area of 56 centimeters squared. And then because a rectangular prism, you're going to have actually multiple sides that are parallel and congruent. If I know that side is 56 centimeters squared, then that also tells me that this side will be 56 centimeters squared. So then when I look at another one of my rectangles, I'm going to do this bottom one because both of the dimensions are pretty easy to see. I see the 7 centimeters times 6 centimeters, so that's going to give me 42 centimeters squared. And then again, if that rectangle is 42 centimeters squared, then there's a second one as well. So that would also mean that this is going to be 42 centimeters squared. And then for this kind of middle rectangle, this measurement is 8, and then this one is the 6 centimeters. And so if we do 8 times 6, we're going to get 48 centimeters squared. And this will also be 48 centimeters squared. So then I can go ahead and add all of these up. So I want the sum of all of my sides. And so when I look at this, I'm going to actually add them a little bit differently. I know that 48 plus the 42 is going to be 90. I know that the other 48 and 42 will be 90. And then 56 and 56 will be 112. And so when I add these all up, I'm going to get 292 square centimeters. So we are still, if this is area, and so it's going to be in square units. So that total surface area is going to be 292 square centimeters. So sometimes, though, we're not going to have the net to help us, okay? So we could either draw a net, or we can start to just think of the different faces of the rectangular prism that we're solving for. So I'm going to actually start with this side here. So if I wanted to figure out the area of that face, I'm going to end up doing 6 times 2. So those dimensions of that side are 6 times 2, which gives me 12. Now, if I know that side, then that means that this side over here is also going to be 12. So I can multiply 12 times 2. And those two faces together are going to give me 24 millimeters squared. So now let's look at another face. So if I think of let's see, if I view this as like the front of that rectangular prism, okay, those measurements now are going to be 6 millimeters by 8 millimeters. Which is going to be 48. But again, if I know the front, then I also know the back. And so I'm going to multiply that by 2 to get 96 millimeters squared. And then I have two last faces to find. I need the bottom and the top. So the bottom is going to be 8 by 2. Which is 16. And again, if I know the bottom, now I know the top, so I'm going to double that. and the total area for the top and the bottom together would be 32 millimeters squared. And then now I would be at a point where I would add these all up. So 24 plus the 96 is going to be 120, plus the 32 would be 152 square millimeters. We'll look at one more example for rectangular prisms, and then we'll move on to triangular prisms. So again, we want to think of all of the different faces we have here. So I'm going to start with this purple side, and the measurements of that purple side are 12 times 10. So the area of that side is 120, but again, I know if I know that side, then there's another matching congruent face on the rectangular prism that has that same area. So I'm going to double that to get 240 square units. If I think of this blue side here, those dimensions are 8 by 12. So I'm going to multiply 8 times 12 to get 96, and then I can multiply 96 times 2 to get 192 units squared. And then if I figure out the area of that red rectangle, that's going to be 10. So this measurement's 10, and then times the 8. So 8 times 10 is going to be 80. All right, if that's the top of my prism, then the bottom is also 80. So that's going to give me a total of 160 units squared. And then now I would be adding them up. So the 240 plus the 160 would be 400, plus the 192 is going to give me an overall area of 592 square units. So that's a little bit about rectangular prisms. We're also going to talk about triangular prisms. So when we're doing surface area of triangular prisms, again, surface area is going to be the sum, all right, or adding, of the areas of all the faces of a 3D figure. And triangular prism is a prism made of two congruent triangular bases connected by three rectangular faces. So you're going to be thinking of two triangles and three rectangles. So you can use nets to help you find the surface area. And so you want to find the area of each face and then add the areas together. Now, because our bases are triangles, we're going to have to remember our area formula for a triangle, which is 1/2 base times height. So for this first one, this one's broken down a little bit more for us, so we can, each face is labeled, and we have this table over here to help us. So for A, the dimensions of this first side are 10 times 5. So if I multiply 10 times 5, I'm going to get 50 meters squared. If I look at B, the dimensions of B are 10 by 4. So that's going to be 40 meters squared. C is another 10 by 5. It just happens to be the same as A. That's not always going to be the case. So that's another 50 meters squared. And then D, we have a 4 by 3. 4 and 3 are my base and my height. But again, I need to do that 1/2 base times height. So 1/2 times 4 times 3 is going to equal 6 meters squared. E is also a congruent triangle over here, so same thing, 1/2 times 4 times 3 is going to be 6 meters squared. And now when I add them all up together, I'm going to end up with 152 meters squared. So we're just going to look at a couple of examples. Actually, we'll do one more example here. We'll do number 2. So number 2, when we are finding the surface area of this, now this one's just the prism itself, the net's not given to us, okay? And so we want to figure out, we want to try to remember that we're going to have 2 triangular bases and the 3 rectangles. So let's start with our triangular bases first. So I'm going to do 1/2 base times height. I'm going to go ahead and draw in this little box. I'm telling you that it's a right triangle, just so that we know the base and the height for sure. So my base and my height here are going to be 5 and 12. And remember, I'm going to be taking 1/2, so 5 times 12 is 60, and half of that is going to be 30. So the area of each of the triangles, okay, is going to be 30. And I have 2 of them, so the 2 triangular bases together will have a total area of 60 square inches. So now I need to start looking at my rectangles. So one rectangle I have is this orange one that I just shaded, so that would be 13 times 4. And when I multiply that, I would get 52. I'm also going to have this bottom rectangle. The dimensions of that are 5 times 4, which is going to be 20. And I'm going to have this rectangle over here. So those dimensions are 12 times 4 as well. So we get 48. And then I need to add up all of my dimensions. So all of my areas. So the 52 and the 48 will give me 100, plus the 20 is 120, plus those 2 triangular bases for a total of 60. So altogether, this would be 180 square inches. That's just a little bit and a couple of examples of finding surface area of rectangular prisms and triangular prisms. Have a great day.